in the equation of f of x and f of negative x. This is actually quite helpful when you're trying to figure out the zeros from an equation. Now, if you have the picture, well, it's not hard at all. But if you have the equation, a little less. Okay, so, so positive goes with the sign changes in f of x. So like if it goes from a positive to like minus, then that's a sign change. Or a minus to a positive, that's a sign change. And then negative goes with the sign changes of f of negative x. And I'm going to show you what this means in the very next problem. Okay, so it gives us p of x. So we could look and find the sign changes, which we will here in a minute. But we also need to find p of negative x, because we're going to need to know the negative roots as well. So let's find p of negative x. What that means is you're just going to replace all the x's with negative x. And it seems like, oh, well, then that means it changes them all to the opposite. No, because if you're raising it to a power that's even, then it's positive. And if you're raising it to a power that's odd, then it remains negative. So that's why you can't just, the exponents is what throws it off. Okay, so even exponent is going to be positive. So this is positive 2x to the fourth. Odd exponent is going to be negative, so it's negative x cubed. Positive, or even, is going to be positive. So it's positive x squared, but there's a negative in front of it already. So that's negative times positive, so it's negative 8x squared. Negative times positive, that's negative 2x. And then we just bring down plus 3. Now I'm just going to rewrite these two things here. P of x was 2x to the fourth plus x cubed minus 8x squared plus 2x plus 3. And p of negative x is the one we just found. 2x to the fourth minus x cubed minus 8x squared minus 2x plus 3. Hopefully I copied them down correctly. Let me know what I left outside or changed the sign in the process. I think I wrote them down right. Okay, so we just looked for sign changes. So here it's going from positive to positive. So that's no sign change there. Then it goes from positive to negative. Yes, that's a sign change. Here it goes from negative to positive. So yes, that's a sign change. Positive to positive? No. So there's 2 here. And write down the sign changes for these. Just with a simple no or yes. So this first one goes from positive to negative, so it's yes. 2 negatives, so it's a no. 2 more negatives, it's a no. Then negative to positive, so it's a yes. Just so happens that it's the same number. Doesn't have to be. Often will not be. Okay, things to point out. The number of sign changes determine the maximum number of positive real roots that the function could have. So it could have 2. Doesn't have to have 2. That's the maximum. And P of negative x determines the maximum negative real roots that it could have. Doesn't have to have 2. That's the maximum that it could have. So I can have this maximum number or any multiple of 2 less than this. So say there were 6 sign changes. Then it could have 6 or 4 or 2 or 0. It's always going to be a multiple of 2. Say it had 5 sign changes. Then it could have 5 or 3 or 1. It's always going to be 2 minus that. All right. So for this one, just regular old P of x, we had 2. So positive roots are 2 or 0 because it has to be a multiple of 2. You just subtract 2 from it until you get to a negative number or 0. Same thing with the negative roots. There were 2 of those, so it's 2 or 0. That's Descartes' rule of signs. 2 or 0, and 2 or 0. So we've talked about positive and negative roots. Now we're going to talk about roots that are 0. At least we're going to start on it. So we're going to rewrite each of those in factored form. So what's something I can factor, or how can I factor f of x?
X.
I can factor out an x. So if I factor out an x, it leaves me with x squared plus x minus 2. Will that factor?
Yes.
Yeah. 2 numbers to multiply to give you negative 2. The add to give you positive 1.
Negative 2 and 1.
Positive 2. Yeah. Because you want them to add to give you positive 1. Yeah. Okay, what about the next one?
X squared.
I can factor out x squared, leaving me with x minus 3. Now that doesn't factor anymore, but I am going to write here x times x. And I'm just doing that because that means that how many zeros are there with x times x? Yeah, 3 total, 2 just with equaling 0. Yes, you're absolutely right. You were both right. And we'll stop there. Have a good day, y'all.